Someone better call Sean Evans because we got some hot ones in here, some hot takes about Final Fantasy XIV. You provided them and now it's my sacred duty, nay, my divine quest to react to them. So let's suit up and take this journey together. Hello everybody, it's your boy Jmulls, and it's time to walk on.
Do I know you?
First up, we have at Randy Gaming 6776, who says, I'd argue that if they're going to give us a new group, they should have started to do it already. I agree, but at the same time, I think they already have. It wouldn't surprise me if the next big narrative arc for the game involves a lot of shard hopping, and I think over the last couple of stories that they have done, they've essentially established characters that we are familiar with representing a bunch of different shards. Reen and Gaia for the first, Golbez and Zero for the Void, and now also the people of Alexandria and specifically Sphene for the ninth. It wouldn't surprise me if what they're doing is introducing us to a bunch of different shards and then we form a group with the people that we've met from those different shards to take on whatever big threat that we're going to end up facing. Maybe Winterer, unless there's some big plot twist and they're not actually the big villain group going forward. We have to wait and see. It's still very early on into this overall new story arc. But for me, this makes the most sense because right after Endwalker, right after the Heidelin and Zodiac arc concluded, we immediately dealt with the Void. We immediately dealt with characters like Zero and Golbez, developed them out, established their place in their world, and then basically put them on ice until we need them again in the story. We have now also done that with the people of Alexandria and the people of the Ninth overall, also specifically Sphene. And then back in the Heidelin and Zodiac arc, we did that again with Gaia and Reen, who were then later reintroduced into the main story out of the raid, which tells me they want us to know that Reen and Gaia are both fair game for the main story moving forward. This feels deliberate to me. And we had that interview with Yoshi P not too long ago where he pretty much said, yeah, we kind of have a plan throughout 10.0. These things feel very deliberate to me. And while I know not everyone liked Dawntrail 7.0 and 0.1, I didn't either, I do think the writing quality has gotten seismically better with 0.2 and 0.3. But also to me, it does feel as if this is kind of the way they do the beginnings of narratives, the beginnings of stories. They give you a bunch of different scattered pieces and then later down the line, they take those elements that once seemed disconnected from each other and they tie all those threads together. That's kind of their MO when it comes to telling a story and an overall narrative, and I don't expect it to really change going forward. I imagine we still have new characters to come down the line, but I wouldn't be surprised if this next big group, they've already started to introduce these characters. It's just a matter of when do we get that moment where they all come together. We'll have to wait and see.
Do I know you?
Next up, we have at Dio Brando, who says we need a Final Fantasy VII reflection and bring back Sephiroth for the Aerith treatment on SHTOLA. That would be crazy. I'm not saying they should do it, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. But can you just imagine it? Sit back for a moment, you know? Just sit back, relax, imagine a world where this happens, and then you just go on Twitter. You know what I mean? It would be comical. The memes would be S tier. They would be transcendently heavenly. And while I love SHTOLA as a character, and I don't particularly want her to die, especially just getting the Aerith treatment, because that would be crazy, there is a sadistic part of my soul that wants to see this happen just to see online sentiment and reaction to it. My God, that would be hilarious. Can you imagine the thumbnails? Just imagine the thumbnails if that happened. I can imagine memes with like Hashafon, Aerith, and then SHTOLA in the afterlife all with the same wound. Like making a club, we got stabbed through the heart. It would be so funny to me that that part of my brain is starting to overpower the logical, rational part of my brain and saying they should probably just do it. If they want to shock the fan base, that would do it. Make it even funny and have it be lore accurate and canonical to FF7 as well. That way we can like tick off two different groups of people and it's like a Venn diagram of ticking people off with like when you get the people in the middle that are fans of both and they feel upset because of what's happening, it's just the vitriol, the memes we would get would be legendary. Now, I'm a big FF7 fan. I wouldn't mind an FF7 based reflection, kind of like what they they did with the 9th being based on FF9, I wouldn't mind that for FF7 because, well, I just really like FF7. And it has always kind of interested me how the game has never really done a big crossover with FF7 before. I mean, there's a few smaller things, right? Like you can get Cloud's outfit, the limit breaks, at least like Brave, are pretty much just lifted from FF7 as well. But we haven't had like a big raid fight to my knowledge, or a big raid tier, or just a raid series overall, or anything like that directly referencing Final Fantasy VII like we've had for a bunch of other Final Fantasies, with like Dawntrail and Alexandria is based on FF9, you had Eden being based in FF8 for somewhat, you know, like parts of it at least. You had the entire Omega raid just being an homage to a bunch of other Final Fantasy games. We had a whole Kefka fight. So would I mind seeing something like that in the future? Not particularly. In fact, I'd be excited. I would welcome it. They just would have to do it right. God, it would be funny though. And if like that's the way they actually killed SHTOLA. I don't know what would be funnier, if that was how they killed SHTOLA, or if they did another SHTOLA fake out death and it was that methodology that was utilized. I don't know which would be funnier. I mean, we can probably expect the 3rd remake game for Final Fantasy VII in sometime in 2027 for the 30-year anniversary. So, like, maybe as we get closer to that, they could do some kind of crossover with FF7. Like, who knows? For all we know, all of, 8.0 is just one big FF7 reference. Time will tell.
Do I know you?
Next up for the final take of the video, we have a chunky one, courtesy of that John the Wizard, who says, hot take. They need to make more of the side content mandatory, specifically the stuff that has implications later in the MSQ. Examples, they should reconfigure the Binding Coils of Bahamut's difficulty, add markers, tweak damage numbers, turn T3 into a solo instance, because it turns out to be important for Alize's later characterization. It has implications in the Summoner Job quest, etc. The Evilise raids get a massive payoff in the Pandemonium raids that impact the MSQ all the way from A Realm Reborn. The Eden raids have story implications. The Omega raids keep rearing their heads and should be made mandatory. The Myths of the Realm raids have huge revelations in them, and players should be exposed to them. There are some limitations on this, however. Savage raids and Extreme Trials should never be mandatory content. Eureka and Bosja, despite having pretty huge implications, shouldn't be mandatory just due to their nature. Stuff like the role quests and allied societies shouldn't be mandatory, but there's some side content that would benefit from it. There's a part of me that agrees and a part of me that disagrees. The one piece of side content that to me should be made mandatory at this point, and this kind of goes back to one of the previous things we talked about, is Eden. Because it's clear to me they want to use both Reen and Gaia in the story going forward, in some capacity at least, and if you haven't done Eden, you have no idea who the hell Gaia is. So if there's any piece of side content that to me should be made mandatory, it would be Eden. However, I think there's an even better solution here, because I do agree a lot of important and interesting lore does come from the side content. What I think they should do is when you beat the 0.0 version of a patch, like when you beat the 0.0 of an expansion, they throw up a splash screen. And in that splash screen, it tells you, hey, for this expansion, you can now do the stories involving this raid, this raid, this raid. Don't necessarily make them mandatory, just make sure new players are made aware that these stories and that these raids exist, and point them in the direction to go and consume that content if that's what they wish to do. There will be some people who just aren't that asked about the story and just want to keep moving with the MSQ. So adding even more stuff on top of the giant and lengthy MSQ they already have probably wouldn't do them any favors, and if someone really does care about the story, simply pointing them in the direction of that story will probably be sufficient for this, in my opinion. You could even do something where it's like, hey, if you do this raid, you might be able to acquire this glamour set, just to give people additional incentive to also do the raid if that is something they wish to do. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I feel like something along those lines would go a long way, because I don't think it's natural that you can expect everyone to go back and read the patch notes for that specific patch to do that raid. I don't think it's fair, or that the game should be designed around the idea that people are going online to find out, hey, what is now available to me? Oh, let me go do all these blue quests. there are so many quests that come online when you get the max level for these previous expansions. I imagine an insignificant number of people, or not so insignificant number of people, will see all of them, their brain will short circuit, and they'll just go back to MSQ. Or they won't know which raid comes from which quest. So I think making the game more visually clear and obvious in this regard could go a long way for some people that want to partake in these other stories. And like, depending upon where the story goes from here, like the only one I think that would absolutely need to become mandatory content would like probably be Eden. Again, just depending upon how much they actually use Gaia and Reen going into the future. It's honestly something I would also like to see just for new patches overall. Just give me a splash screen that actually tells me where all the new quests are, so I'd have to go look up at the patch notes to find out where to start the new Hildebrand quest, or where the new tier comes from. I would just like to see that as a change going forward. I think it would go a long way. That, or I'm blind and it's already there. Who knows?
Do I know you?
And here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with your own hot take about Final Fantasy XIV. It can be about anything, but if you have a hot take about the story, I would especially like to see that. Leave a comment down below, and maybe, just maybe, I'll react to them in a future video. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to check out the last hot take video, where we went over the concept of Final Fantasy XIV needing more depth, always a fun topic, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.